Ba-da-dun-dun-dun. My name is Cleveland Brown. That's right, man. You could see from the thumbnail and the title of this video that James Houston has been claimed and will not return to the Detroit Lions. Here is a tweet coming from Ian Rappaport. Happened a little while ago, but I had to take my son to get his haircut. It says, former Lions pass rusher James Houston was claimed by the Browns, sources say. Now, after I made the initial video of him being waived, some stuff came out. It was right around the time that Dan Campbell got in front of the media for his usual press conference, and he was asked about James Houston, and we'll go back. We'll dive into that in a minute, but I wanted to make something very clear. Yesterday, it might seem like I was excited and happy and all of this stuff. My reaction to James Houston being waived had nothing to really do with James Houston. It had to do with you guys in the comment section. But James Houston, man, I hope that he lands on his feet, and it's kind of crazy. I was driving home from coming back to get my son's haircut, and I'm thinking about how if you are on an NFL team, you probably can't put roots down anywhere. If you play for a particular city, you live here temporarily during the season, and then you go to your home in the offseason. We know Zadarius Smith has a home in Florida, but he's been everywhere. He's literally had to Minnesota, Green Bay, now Detroit, Cleveland before that. So you've had the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, this guy has had to put some roots down and, never probably could really get comfortable anywhere, but he's got his home. And I thought about how James Houston on Sunday was a Detroit Lion, and on Thursday is a Cleveland Brown. He had to pack up whatever he needs to take. He had to have somebody get a location for him to live. I don't know if you guys know this, but I actually used to live in Lake Village of Fairlane is what it was called. It's off Greenfield and just south of Rotunda. And right before you can merge onto 94, there's some apartments that are on the right-hand side. And when I was applying, this is a long time ago, probably 20 years ago almost, when I was applying to get in there 20 years ago, the lady told me that a lot of Detroit Lions players live there temporarily because it is literally half a mile down is the Allen Park facility. So I thought about James Houston, man. So I'm not, I'm never making fun of a guy that is out of a job or I knew he was going to get claimed. I said yesterday he's going to get claimed. And I actually, very ironic twist, said, what if he got claimed by the Cleveland Browns? Zadarius Smith is traded to Detroit and James Houston is claimed off waivers by the same team that traded us, Zadarius Smith. What a kind of a full circle moment. But Dan Campbell got in front of the media, and I think it was very telling what he said about James Houston. Here's what he had to say. They asked why it didn't work out. Here's what Dan Campbell said. It just didn't. It just didn't. We had James up for a number of games, came back off injury, got back, and it just never quite worked out, Campbell said. That is pretty telling. Now, all jokes aside and stuff like that about I told you, when did I tell you, and all of that. I mean, that's me having fun. Like I said, being in front of having a YouTube channel, being in front, in front of you guys. And I got to point out when I'm right and things like that. But it's never a knock at James Houston. I just could kind of tell that James Houston was not the guy, and that in my personal opinion, we should have moved on from him. Now, could you imagine if we talked about James Houston and his trade value, and it looks like he had none. He had none. And is it just me, or James Houston, it just seems kind of like it's something else to this. Okay, think about it. James Houston now joins Chase Lucas as a individual to find another team. But Chase Lucas, the contract was up. He wasn't traded. He wasn't he was claimed, I believe it was. No, he had a chance to come back to Detroit, but he wound up signing. I can't remember if he was waived, and because a lot of times Chase Lucas chose to come back to the Detroit Lions instead of going to play somewhere else. But James was part of the team. He was waived well into the season. So I'm not comparing him to Isaiah Buggs in the sense of we know what Isaiah Buggs has done, but usually there's something there. And Dan Campbell is super duper cryptic with that whole thing. He continues and says, look, wish him the best of luck. And sometimes you just need a fresh start, and this could be great for him. So wish him the best. It's kind of like you knew yesterday. Now, this is a quote from yesterday. That makes it sound like they knew good and well that James Houston, whether he cleared waivers or not, maybe they thought he wouldn't clear, but they knew good and well that he was not going to be back as a Detroit Lion, that they were not going to invite him back on the practice squad. And actually, this was kind of known on Monday, but I don't know how I missed this. I don't follow James Houston, so I don't know how I missed this. That's probably how. He dropped this on the 25th, so this is the day after the Colts game, on his Twitter account. Says, live, learn, move on, peace. And this is several hours, the day before it was announced that he was leaving. Now, I'm going to do something. I'm going to click on, I guess it's irrelevant now because we know he's gone. Still dreaming. The problem, wow, ironically, he did not update this. This probably would have been the first thing that I updated once I was gone. But shout out to James Houston, man. It's probably, again, no hard feelings or anything like that. But I'm wondering if there was something else that's behind the scenes. I don't expect anything to come out about this. Like, you knew something was going on with Isaiah Buggs, but it could have been. I mean, we heard that it was friction between Buggs and Glenn, and then he was inactive, and maybe it could have been something like that with James Houston. I keep going back to when Deion Sanders was when he was at Jackson State, and they had a show that was following Deion. It was about Deion and him coaching at Jackson State, right? And I remember very specifically, this is before James Houston was drafted. Deion and a coach was talking to James Houston, and they were like, yo, James wanted to play linebacker, and they were like, yo, we think you fit better at edge. We're trying to get you to the NFL. And James was super defiant. Man, I remember that moment because the episode came out after the draft, but it was recorded before. And so I remember saying, like, and so that's always stuck with me. Maybe it was that, maybe it wasn't, maybe, it's none of these things. But I find it hard to believe that a guy who, you got to remember, James beat out Matthew Betts. He beat out a host of guys to make the team. He's active for a lot of the games. He literally just played week 12 against the Colts, and then just like that, he's gone. Something just doesn't seem right, but James, wish him the best. And then Dan Campbell, I mean, he's not going to go into detail, but it seemed like that the Detroit Lions were done with James Houston. And it gave those Isaiah Bug vibes, you know what I mean? Like, things weren't working out here for reasons other than the ones on the field. It just ain't a fresh start. I mean, that's that kind of stuff. It ain't me, it ain't you, it's me. You break up with somebody, you're like, listen, it ain't you, it's me. I need to get myself together. I wish you the best, and basically goodbye, right? So let me know your thoughts, man. James Houston going to the Browns. Now I will say this. James Houston, we all know what happened. It was trending all over Twitter. I was going to say twittering. It was trending all over Twitter about what happened when against that in the Jacksonville Jaguars game. And I found it, I did not talk about this at all, but James Houston, not only does he go back, he goes to the team that traded Zadarius Smith. And we were talking about James Houston being part of trade packages forever. And then, ironically, 3 weeks after the trade deadline, he's waived and winds up on the Browns, which back in the day, it was a song called I Wanna Rock, a.k.a. Doo-Doo Brown. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So he went to the Cleveland Doo-Doo Browns, man. And the second thing I thought was, my name is Cleveland. So anyway, here's something that's crazy. So Cleveland Brown from Family Guy, if you don't think about this, it's like what? So his name is Cleveland Brown, and it's because of the Cleveland Browns. Like, I didn't just think of that, but like many, many years ago, I'm like, oh, okay, wow. So anyway, think that's funny, but wishing James Houston the best, man. And it's kind of weird because after all of these months and years and all of that, I no longer get to talk about James Houston. It feels like a win and a loss at the same time, because you guys know me, man. I've been from the very beginning, year 2 and on. It was just like, nah, I never really believed in him like that. I didn't. And it looks like that, you know, the Detroit Lions felt it was time to move on. So anyway, this channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.